An American man has been charged with murder and abuse of a corpse after brandishing the decapitated head of his own father in a ranting online video. 32-year-old Justin Mohn posted a video to his YouTube channel stating the federal government and Biden administration before urging his listeners to kill. It was then that he lifted his father's severed head, saying he'd betrayed the US by being a federal employee. In the chilling 15-minute clip, Mohn also railed against globalists and communists before calling himself a messiah. He was taken into custody hours later after the body of his father was found at home. Really heck of a story, this one. Joining me is Erich McElroy, a US political commentator, and Dr David Holmes, a criminal psychologist. Let me start with Erich to try and just kind of contextualise and explain this story. I mean, we don't normally tell stories on this programme about people brandishing the severed head of their own father. It's kind of biblical. It's borderline Miltonic, satanic. I don't know what to say about it, but it's certainly not usual. So let's have your take on it, Erich.
Well, I mean, there is a tradition of political rhetoric in the US that is against the government. I mean, it doesn't just start with Donald Trump. A lot of people think, well, Donald Trump says things that if you look at his Truth Social posts from just the last 24 hours, he's attacking a federal judge because he wasn't happy with the ruling there. So Trump at the moment frequently attacks government and public officials, and that's part and parcel of American politics, especially on the right. And this goes back even all the way to Ronald Reagan in 1986. He famously said, you know, the 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. And so this demonization of people who work in the government is going on, and it's pervasive within the right-wing media structure.
And what do we know of this man who made the video? What do we know of his father's involvement in government? What do we know of him at all?
I mean, there's still just trickling out of information because, of course, they're being cautious because it's only just happened. But we know that he was a federal employee, which the federal government has long been, you know, the enemy of the people. When it's ironic that these are public servants. This is the same as the civil service here in the UK. So this constant campaign has consequences when your words use violence and the idea that these people are evil who work for the government and the government is out to get you and take away all of your freedoms and purpose. Then we see these tragic results happen.
And quite extraordinary to have somebody, you know, hold their own father responsible, because you would think that if you're related to somebody, you would know effectively that they're a small cog in a huge wheel and they're not responsible directly, personally, for anything at all that has befallen anybody. They're just, you know, doing a day job, and you would know really how insignificant a single person's contribution probably is, especially if it's your father.
But it goes beyond all of that. There's such a demonization of working for the government in the US. It's hard to fathom because I've lived in the UK for 23 and a half years. And, you know, we complain about the government, but it's focused on the political actors. And that's a different thing, to complain about a way a government is run or the what direction we're going. This moves well beyond that. And I, you know, you don't want to politicize a tragedy, but it doesn't happen, you know, and there's obviously dangerous rhetoric on all sides of the political debate. But if you can go all the way back to 1986, generations of this movement that says these people are they're working in this conspiracy bubble, and it's not a far right idea. It's covered by a lot of the rhetoric that we see.
God, let's bring Dr David Holmes in, criminal psychologist. Have you ever heard or seen anything of this ilk before, Doctor?
I've come across a few cases around the world whereby you have this kind of horrific outcome where you've got often members of the own family as well. And generally behind it, I mean, we don't know a lot of the specifics in this case. We've got virtually no history apart from this chap producing albums and books and lots of rhetoric around the subject that he's conspiring about. But often there is some kind of schizophrenic or schizotypal traits within the person, which is where you get these distortions, the extremes, and this focused idea that somebody needs to be eliminated, people need to be destroyed. And perhaps with a level of psychopathy which enables people to carry out such brutal acts without very much kind of empathy or actually a flicker of emotion across the chap's face, as you probably would have seen if you saw the original YouTube video. He's holding up his father's decapitated head, which he's chopped off himself, and he's not bothered, really. I think this distancing from reality, taken alongside these extreme conspiratorial thought trains and this massive self-reference, which is very much a schizophrenic trait, is the idea that it's all about me. They're actually attacking me. And I am able to actually, because I'm an all-powerful Messiah, I am able to actually change this. I will change the world. It's this engrandation of himself beyond the norm and beyond any kind of reality that we know, which is where he kind of distances himself from most people's thinking, so they can sort of say, well, I can see the bit of the conspiracy there. I might even be, I'm a Trumpian supporter or something like that, and I can see what he's getting at, but I can't see why he's getting that deep into it and why he thinks he can change it. It's going beyond reality.
Well,
and I think that's probably the traits.
Talk to me, doctor, and if people have just turned on, you're a criminal psychologist. Talk to me about the added dimension, if there is one, of social media. How social media affects or plays into or adds to the impact, potentially, of psychosis or of other kinds of mental illness. Because it's very different doing something on your own or in front of your family or in front of a small crowd of people in a shopping centre, but broadcasting it effectively to, you hope, the world via social media surely does something to kind of expand the kind of, I don't know, velocity of the illness, does it?
Well, to be honest, I mean, this chap is, what, 32? I think he's still living at home. And in that kind of cocoon, that protective cocoon, he's able to foster these ideas and fester them. And he's able to sort of like carry this on in producing books and music, which he can then put onto social media. But it's a one-way thing. His rants and raves on social media are one way. It's him telling the world how things are. And it's not the world being able to really get back at him and say, no, he's not going down to the pub and talking to his mates about these mad ideas and getting this kind of like, oh, really? And a few people saying, well, maybe you should see a doctor. That kind of thing isn't breaking through this kind of nutshell that surrounds him. And that which is, he's in a safety zone. He doesn't have to actually go out into the world and, you know, pay his rent and all this kind of thing. He has this kind of cocoon. He has this protective social thing around him, but he's able, as it were, to spread these theories, to actually suddenly find himself with a stage that he can then perform on, which is probably what has led to him decapitating his father as an example of somebody within government that needs to be destroyed.
Let me bring Erich back into this. Erich McElroy, is there any chance at all that Donald Trump or any of the incendiary rhetoricians in America might take responsibility? Because this is such an extraordinary bit of film, isn't it? Somebody who's I mean, I've never said it in my entire career. Somebody who's decapitated their own father and is brandishing their father's severed head on a YouTube channel in order to decry the activities of the American government. It's absolutely unthinkable that this should be happening. It's happened, and most of us have seen the footage. Is there any potential whatsoever for Trump or anybody else to take responsibility for what they might have contributed to this and apologise or tone down the way they speak or change their behaviour?
Absolutely not. This is the culture that we're dealing with now within that wing of the Republican Party. Normal Republicans and normal Democrats, everyone of any political strife, should condemn anything like this, of course, and also say that any rhetoric that would encourage this would obviously be awful and shouldn't be said again. What I would imagine, if we see anyone in the Trumpian wing, the MAGA movement, as it were, they'll say that this particular individual was mentally unwell, and we shouldn't politicize this tragedy of someone being mentally disturbed. That's what they'll say. Now, that's what they always say when someone who does something awful agrees with them politically. If someone is a terrorist who doesn't agree with them politically, they say they're evil and, you know, we need to hunt them to the far corners of the earth. I can guarantee you absolutely that there will be no Trump condemnation of this because the man agrees with him. The man is saying the same things that you can go through Truth Social, Trump's fake media website, and see him saying every single day, and other people in there. I mean, it's the same people who are now saying that Taylor Swift is running a conspiracy that's gone all the way to the Super Bowl, where she's allegedly going to announce that she supports, President Biden. That's the latest thing that's happening as well.
Oh my gosh!
So
I
it's this
thank you.
festering.
I thank you both. I mean, this really does go under the bracket of you could not make it up. I really appreciate your broadcasting about it, though. Thank you very much. Coming up after the break, a record number of drinkers gave up alcohol this January, saving on average about £120. I'm Vanessa Feltz, and you're with Talk on TV, radio, online, and on your smart speaker. We're here.
Thanks for joining us.
You're with Talk TV, on radio, online.
You're on your smart speaker.
Criminals using XL bully dogs as weapons to threaten others.
No matter how well trained, most dog owners will tell you a dog can turn.
Do you know what I love about Talk today? We do it all. Sunak, Suella, scones.
A woman can become a man and a man can become a woman. And if you think that, you're certifiably insane.
Slick Rishi seemed intelligent, forensic, even a bit of a statesman, the type of man you'd trust to look after your house while you went on holiday.
This concept that actually kids wouldn't carry knives if they could go and play tiddlywinks at the corner of a street or whatever. I think it's a nonsense.
Happy Birds Night.
We slick it, Curan timorous beastie, open up panics in thy breastie.
Keir Starmer's accused the government of failing a generation after a record number of young people were killed last year using a knife or sharp object.
We need to make sure that when we say we're going to ban them, we actually do ban them.
There are so many politicians now who just say my dad was a Boston. You're David Cameron. No, he wasn't.
It's like brought to you by Sadiq Khan, the Mayor of London. Very rarely meet anybody that says, the thing about London is it's got a great mayor, Sadiq Khan, brilliant guy.
In the cities, there are areas where there are no vegetables. It's particularly difficult for those people to do what Mark is saying. If he comes up with this argument again, I'll sit on it.
Stop creating all of these funny little factions with their funny little names. The New Conservatives, the ERG, the Common Sense Research Group, the Red Wall, Red Trouser, Popcorn. I mean, popcorn, what is that?
If you're talking about multiculturalism, it's working class white boys who get put in the army. The poorest people in society are the ones who are going to be put on the front line.
Something is going horribly wrong.
We can do a lot better.
Donald Trump